right, welcome to the book club. I'm Dylan here with my bosom buddy Keith. What's up?
I'm here with Dylan, aka Demon, aka Olaf, because it's easier to say, and that's my favorite Frozen characters.
Oh, look at us. We're like Sess and Ness,
Yeah.
finishing each other's... This is where you're supposed to... You're supposed sentences. Jesus Christ. All right, here at the Buddy Book Club, we're breaking out some bestsellers, and this week we'll be discussing Sally Hepworth's latest novel, Mabel. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach us in past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on X or Instagram. That's Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, wherever your podcast. Please download, subscribe, 5-star reviews, please, and thanks. Keith, Mabel. It's a crime story about the two kinds of people no one ever expects to be murderers, little girls and old ladies. But is it really about that? Stick around here to hear our thoughts. 437 on Goodreads, 225,000 ratings. Like, this thing's only been out for 8 months or something like that. I guess a little bit more, 10 months. But yeah, pretty wild. I definitely haven't read anything else first. She's got like 9 novels. And I don't even know if we've done any Australian writers.
I don't think we've done a lot of international other than British.
Yeah. And I guess she said in like her acknowledgements, which I listened to, that were quite nice. She was talking about how she wanted to keep a bunch of the Aussie lingo in there and, you know, maybe had a little bit of pushback from publishers or editors or whatnot, but she kept it. And I just love, give me all the Aussie lingo. Like, have this thing so Aussie lingo that I'm not sure that I know what's happening.
100% agree, yeah. When I went there, I kept on getting tripped up when they would say, what is it? It's not how you doing, it's how you going, I think they say. So they're like, hey, how you going? I'm like, going good. I couldn't think of how to respond to it every time. So like, God damn it.
Yeah, that's kind of like
Anyway.
whenever we're both from the East Coast, whenever we say we're all set, it's like, hey, do you want some more guacamole? It's like, no, I'm all set. In other parts of the country, people have no idea what that
really?
means.
Oh, okay.
At least I've experienced it a few times where someone's like, does that mean you want more? Like, what? All set? Let's get into stock up, stock down for Mabel. Keith, stock up. What do you got?
Accountability, stock up. I mean, I've said it once. I've said it a million times, D-Man. I don't think we should treat kids differently than we treat, adults.
Yeah, you're big into
None
that.
of this baby talk. None of this, treating them like they're, you got to wear kids' gloves, literally, with them.
Sock 'em boppers.
In Melbourne or Australia, they take this to heart. Yeah, you're 3 years old. Yeah, you can barely walk. You can barely talk. You can't make core memories, whatever. Enough of the excuses. We got 3-year-old Elsie. She should know better. Polio is super contagious. You should know that, right?
Yeah.
So it's one or two options, D-Man. She's either a malicious killer who did it on purpose, or she's a complete idiot. And we all know she's not an idiot. She's smart, So, I mean, this whole community blaming a 3-year-old and not the parents, it's completely right. It's the right response. And can we address a little bit the elephant in the room, though, with the blaming all the 3-year-old? What about Kitty?
Yeah, exactly.
Does she not take any accountability in this? You're going to walk into the room or not walk out when someone has polio? Like, Kitty, grow up. Walk yourself out of the room or crawl yourself out of the room. What do you have to do? Like, that's the only thing I'm a little upset about is that there's no accountability from Kitty's perspective. But other than that,
dead.
completely on point with all of this. But in all seriousness, yeah, I didn't really understand that whole thing. Does everyone in the whole society just like complete idiots? I don't get like how that would work. And it's not just, it is the whole society, but even Sess, at one point, she's like, yeah, your dad really, really loved Kitty. It's just like your mom, all this stuff. But I always loved you way more. I knew you were going to be way better. I'm like, Kitty's 12 months old. Wait, what are you basing that off of? She barely has a personality yet. Like, what are you talking about? So everyone there apparently is. And I was thinking, I'm like, do they count? Like, I think in China, when you're born, you're 1 year old. I was like, oh, are they maybe like a year older? like she's actually 2? That's the only thing I could think of that would make sense. Even then, though, I don't know. What age do you think they have to get to before it's not all the parents' fault?
In terms of giving someone a contagious disease?
I feel like that's like 18 almost.
Yeah, what are we talking about
just
here?
in general, like the percentages start to swing. If a 3-year-old touches a stove, that's 100% on the parents, right? But if an 8-year-old touches a stove, you're like, yo, come on, you know,
Oh,
like, you know
three
better
single
at this
parents.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like the scale, it starts to move as you get older.
Yeah, I think it depends on how egregious the thing is. Like a virus or whatever the thing is, disease you can't see that, you know. It's also, she's on the porch. They just put their kids. So we're talking, I think, late 40s, early 50s. I think we're talking like early 50s here. And they were talking about how they just would put the kids that had polio like on the patio, which in my mind, I'm thinking of a house that has kind of like a small porch that's really just for collecting Amazon packages. And they're just putting the kids out there to be like, okay, live out here for a couple of weeks until this polio thing either kills you or you get over it. Because you're not going to infect anyone else. So that was a little bit weird. So I guess if we're talking hot stove, I think probably like 5. You know,
Okay.
5's probably the point where you should know better in the sense of, you know, like even my daughter's almost 2. And whenever she walks by the stove, I'm like, hot. And she goes, hot. And I'm like, yes, hot. So she understands that that's a thing. Would she still do it? Yes, absolutely. At the same time, who knows? I just recently had some time with some family, and my brother-in-law, who's 44, or, you know, definitely past that age, we're both putting things in the oven. The oven door's open. It's 450 degrees. I go to put my sheet tray in the oven, and he just closes the door. Like, just straight up closes the door on my hand. I was like, are you insane? So, yeah, I think it's younger than 44, but probably older than 3, which is the age Mabel is when her dad takes it upon himself to blame her for Kitty's death and pretty much starts that ball rolling to blame her for literally everything else. And you briefly mentioned it, but the exact quote from Cess is, "To be perfectly honest, she was far less interesting than you." This is
she didn't even talk. It was like she was terrible. What was her deal?
Like, she shat her pants and couldn't speak not in full sentences. She couldn't even put 2 words together. She was just a loser. Imagine you go and meet someone.
She was just hammered the whole time, it sounds like. Yeah, could barely walk, could barely do anything.
It's like how Jerry Seinfeld would act towards a baby. You know, is pretty much how Cess is acting towards this 1-year-old.
Yeah.
She's like, good riddance. I'm glad she's dead. She's way less interesting than you.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, like, I don't even blame the dad, because the dad's just an evil character. So the evil character is supposed to be evil, but everyone in the town being like, I can't believe she killed her sister. I'm like, what are wrong with you people?
Well, I wanted to kind of talk about this in general before I get into my stock up, because that's so absurd, but the book is a lot about the court of public opinion and just how kids are kind of terrible, you know, probably a stock down, and they'll believe anything, you know. It's like, if there's a story that's circulating, people will just believe it. So it's like, oh, did you hear that she killed her sister when she was 3? One person says it and it just spreads like wildfire. I remember in high school, there was some girl in high school, she's like a few years older than me, but somehow it like made the rounds that she had an abortion because she had a scar on her stomach, which now, as an older person with a brain, clearly realizes that is like an appendectomy scar or something like that. And that is not how abortions work whatsoever. But because this storm happens in these places where people just pass things on and people believe them, and we're all idiots when we're 12, and we kind of want to put people down. You know, kids are so group orientated and they want to always be, there needs to be a them. You know, if it's us as your group of friends or the people you trust, there has to be a them. And we always pick someone, and it's terrible and it shouldn't happen like this, but that's how it is. And someone decided that this girl was a them, and because of that, she was like labeled as a harlot because she had this abortion that she obviously never had because she had a freaking scar in her stomach. So I thought about that when I was reading this book, because one, of how egregious that is, that we would just make that up and everyone would believe it, and two, that it just happened to Mabel over and over and over again. It's tough being a kid, and especially, I mean, we don't know. We're both guys, but I can imagine being a girl and a kid, especially like in puberty times, is way harder. Which takes me to my first stock up. Fuck around and find out. Stock up. Billy, he fucked around and he found out. He got like, we don't even know what happened to Billy, right? He just hit his head somehow walking down the stairs at the beach. No one did anything to him.
I mean, I was hoping, again, this is what I really wanted the book to turn into, was that her imaginary friend would just go off and like do all these things and she didn't know she was happening. But that's okay. That's what I'm hoping for. But I don't think you can really root for Elsie at the end if that's the case. But that would be dark and humorous. You know, I think that would be great. That'd be a great way for this book to turn. Instead, it was just sad and emotional, if anything, this book. But go on.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you brought that up because it's something that I thought as well. When, Daphne's revealed and whatnot, I was like, holy smokes, I wonder if it was there was a darker book than it had been the whole time. And she was actually having psychotic breaks, and Daphne was just going around killing people.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, her mom, she just shoved her out the window. Because even her mom, her mom's not on the fuck around and find out list. Billy is, of course. But if her mom was on the fuck around and find out list.
Mom slapped her.
Yeah, I was about to say, it wouldn't be that crazy. Her mom said, "What did you see?" She said, "I saw some thrusting." And the next thing you know, she hits her in the face and then nosedives out the window. So, she could be on the fuck around and find out list. Mr. Lucas, clearly, 1, pedophile, 2, terrible human being, uses her, which murder was it? Her dad's? Her mom's. Yeah, and uses that to like get in close to her. Ugh. He fucked around and found out he's dead. And actually, that one probably, it isn't Mabel's fault, because even though she did she used her compass to like stab his tire, his girlfriend was already going to kill him. She just then used that as an alibi. Mabel's dad, he really fucked around and he found out. He fucked around for years. And then eventually he found out, and she killed him in a very enjoyable way, like stabbed him with a umbrella to death.
Yeah,
it's a good way to go. Nice. Yeah. Very League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I appreciated it. So I guess if you're around Mabel and you fuck around, you're going to find out. And now we have earned our explicit rating on Spotify and Apple Music.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there you go.
What else did you have for stock up?
Being a good neighbor, stock up. I do think it was kind of funny while we're reading and we're like getting introduced to Joan. I'm like, fuck this Joan. She's the worst. She's the absolute worst person ever. What a terrible neighbor. But then you like take a step back. If you were a neighbor and you're like, oh yeah, the person that just moved in next door is a mass murderer and she had imaginary friends that she talks to, and we need to protect everyone in this little community. We have a little girl here. We have I need to help, make sure people are aware that there's a crazy person here. And so she's kind of doing that, and then she finds out that she's actually not that crazy, and she's actually probably a pretty good person. And then she apologizes. Oh, she's kind of a good person. Joan gets a lot of hate, but she's fine. And then she's like bragging about her nephew, who is actually a good lawyer. Like he comes in and helps out. So like, most of those people that are
pro bono.
Yeah. Most of those neighbors that are talking about their kids and all these things, none of that helps you. You're like, yeah, like Timmy ran really fast with the meat. Like, I don't give a shit. That's not going to help me unless Timmy's like, running down and saving me for something. Who cares about his speed? But she's talking about a lawyer, and then lo and behold, that lawyer comes and helps him. So that was a good brag. It was useful. So yeah, I'm on Team Joan by the end of this. I was like, you know what? She's actually a good person. So being a good neighbor, stock up.
Yeah, Joan has a good story arc, and she's not the only good neighbor, which we can get into some other ones. But I enjoyed that Joan is so hateable at the beginning. She's the classic neighbor from every neighborhood movie or whatnot that's just always eavesdropping and putting her nose in places they shouldn't be. But yeah, if you think about it from her perspective, even if you're a little nosy, it sure is the youngest killer in Australia's history that moved in next door to you, and now someone's dead on your street. So yeah, you have a reason for it. But then the second she goes human shield against those like PETA protesters or whoever those random people were shooting blood out of squirt guns, and Mabel that is, and puts Persephone behind her, Joan's like, oh, maybe, you know, everything that she's done has been pretty chill, and she just did this, which is super chill. So maybe she's not that bad of a person. And then instead of just being like the mea culpa, she goes hard the other way and helps her out and whatnot. So yeah, great stuff. Yeah. In terms of other neighbors, though, Peter obviously turns out to be her son. Spoiler alert. Seemed like a good guy for the most part. Helped out when he was needed. He was kind of like the man around town. I, in my head, thought Peter and Joan were both a lot older. Like, I thought they were Mabel's age, but clearly, I mean, they're still.
I think they're like 60.
Yeah, they're still
right?
elderly,
So,
but
yeah,
because if she's 81 and he's 15 years younger than her, so 65. He's not like elderly, all right? Jeez, it's like, but you know what I'm saying. And I guess the only one that was a tough one to me, besides the neighbor that died, who just has a yappy dog and no one likes that, is Roxanne. Like, is Roxanne a good neighbor? What's her deal?
Her story is just to introduce another way that men are terrible, essentially. It's like, oh, yeah, there's Roxanne. Yeah, she has a terrible, terrible husband slash,
yeah, it's like a kindergarten cops type situation going on there.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And just to make the story even sadder to end. That's her what her job is.
Yeah, I thought there were like no guns in Australia. I thought that was the big thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
And no one has any guns.
Well, this guy's Italian, so it's a little different.
Oh, Cinque Terre.
Mamma mia, pizziotto.
No, it was more about Roxanne. They said she had gentleman callers at all hours of the night or whatnot. And hey, I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum. If Roxanne wants to get laid and whatnot, like, good for her. But she does have a 7-year-old kid at home. So
I thought that was more of like the rumor mill saying that.
Oh,
which
was
is
it
kind
the
of weird
rumor
that
mill?
Elsie was spreading that, or at least Elsie. I mean, Elsie's not up at 1 a.m., so I don't really know, unless she is. But like, I thought that was more the rumor mill, and she's like, oh, she's, that's what's been happening, which is like funny because I'm like, Elsie, aren't you the person that was getting accused of these things? Shouldn't she be like the last one? Throwing stones.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't take it that way. I thought it was like, that was actually happening. But if that is the case, then my bad. I'm not here to spread rumors because, no one likes that. But leaving her kid at home, even though I know she needs a nighttime, she needs a job, pays a lot more. I get all that. And the sitter's too expensive overnight. I just couldn't imagine leaving a 7-year-old and not telling them. Like, they have no idea.
Yeah.
Or even just telling a couple of neighbors just to check
accountability.
out.
It goes back to it. Kid. Yeah, you're 7.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Go back to sleep. What's the issue? Yeah, answer the door and fight off that 30-year-old man that's at the door. Whatever.
Yeah, you wake up and I'm not home. Who cares? Just
stop complaining.
Figure it out. Go get yourself a glass of water. Yeah, that's a good point. We got to treat those kids like adults. So maybe Roxanne was right. She just wanted her kid to grow up a little faster. My next stock up is Jonas Salk stock up. I've heard about polio, obviously, but I didn't really necessarily realize that it was this giant epidemic. I've seen the pictures of like, the iron kids in the iron lungs, and I knew FDR had it, but polio is just pretty wild. It's contagious. It attacks the nervous system, causing paralysis or death. And I guess Jonas Salk introduced the vaccine in 1955, but it was killing or paralyzing over 500,000 people a year before that, which is wild to me. I was up at my mom's lake, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something, and I got bit by a leech, which is supposedly the only time that's happened in that lake. And because of it, I got a staph infection, and I went to the clinic there, and the doctor walks in on like crutches or something like that, and he's telling me, oh yeah, it's pretty like this, no big deal, it's staph infection, like staph lives on your skin, we'll give you some antibiotics and you'll be fine. And he was like, good thing we got antibiotics, right? And I was like, yeah, sure, great thing. He's like, because in my day we had polio and there was nothing to do it, and that's why I'm in these crutches. And I was like, wait, what? And it was like,
wait, how old was he?
He was like in his 50s or 60s or something. But yeah, I guess he somehow got polio. And imagine just like you're a kid, everything's chill. The next thing you know, your nervous system shuts your legs off.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You're thinking we just lived through COVID and that I'm not downplaying it. It was wild for a lot of people that had terrible times, but like a lot of us have had COVID and it was like a cold and you get away with. But polio, well, although it looks like a lot of people that had polio either had no symptoms or it was fine, but a lot of people, your body just decides no thanks, no mas, and you're dead.
Yeah,
crazy.
I think pre 1940 though, you just assume it's like a 1 in 5 chance
like
the kid doesn't make it to like 18. Yeah, you're just like they probably won't make it. It's just like 1 in 5. I also always harken back to Freakonomics book where the way they learned the germs is that the mortality rates of people delivering babies in hospitals was significantly higher than it was in just home births. They're like, why is that? There's got to be something going on. And they went into the doctors, and the doctors would go to the morgue, work on dead bodies, and then come up and deliver babies. And they're like, I don't understand what possibly could be causing this. And so they didn't know that germs were a thing. And then eventually they're like, oh, yeah.
So there you go. Those people are idiots. So maybe we have to change the hot stove number to you're going into morgues and delivering a baby. Oh my God, that's terrible.
Well, if you watch there's a Netflix series too on I forget which president it was, but one of the presidents that got assassinated, and turns out like he got shot, and then they were trying to find the bullet out, and the reason he died is from infection, not because the bullet was fine. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
So it's just because they were so bad with like they didn't wash their hands, they didn't do all these things you're supposed to do, and they're just like drilling into his back to find the bullet. They're like, it's not there, and they'd be like, whatever, and let him rest there.
He'd be like, let me squeeze some human feces between my fingers, and then I'll get back in there.
Yeah, exactly. So
crazy. Yeah, polio I guess does transfer from human feces. Which I didn't know, but in the way that poop's kind of everywhere, which is as disgusting as that sounds. People don't wash their hands and they touch something so it's like surface contact and whatnot. But blaming Mabel, who's on the porch and is locked out on the porch, and then her 1-year-old sister somehow gets out there, which is still unclear, is very confusing. At the same time, though, she is 3, so if she can unlock it from her side, it'd be hard for that kid not to do it because she doesn't even understand what's going on. I don't know. It's wild. It's just wild to blame a kid. My last one is probably the most important one, but it's and kind of what the book's all about. But stock up friendship. It has to be, whether it's real or imaginary. It's kind of a big deal. So yeah, we're talking about how Mabel obviously has this terrible childhood and really no one to turn to. So she's bookish. I couldn't imagine not having a safe space with your parents. And I guess maybe another stock up would be having siblings. Assuming you don't murder them by giving them polio. But, because I couldn't imagine just not having anybody to turn to. And the idea that she has all this trauma, and then because of this trauma creates a imaginary friend like Harvey in that 1940s movie or whenever it was made, uses that because she's so into Anne of Green Gables and to create Daphne, who was her friend in kindergarten but then moved away. So she kind of just like brings her back to life. Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense to me, although we'll get into it later, but it's probably going to hurt you in the long run if you're trying to continue to get friends.
Her. She got her off only 5 years in prison or mental health hospital.
Yeah,
so
that's for sure. But I'm just saying, if you're trying to get some friends and you're like chatting with yourself by the locker, people are like, oh. That's the other reason. It's like maybe people were calling her Mad Mabel because of all of this crazy stuff that happened. Maybe they're calling her Mad Mabel because she is a little mad in the sense that she has this imaginary friend that she somehow thinks other people can see and interact with to some degree.
Although all of her neighbors like her, and she still has an imaginary friend then, she's like still talking with her all day. I don't understand why her neighbors liked her. She was just mean to everyone, and they're like, everyone loves you here. It's like, what?
Yeah, she was like negging everyone. It was great. People love that.
Yeah, I guess so.
They were into it.
Yeah.
What about stock downs?
Quick one on the Fight Club stock down, just because you mentioned it. Fight Club stock down, but that's mainly because her imaginary friend really wasn't about that life. Didn't help with the whole fuck around find out like you mentioned earlier. I was hoping that she was kind of gonna come out and start murdering people, but I also wanted to ask you, when did you know? I didn't know if it was supposed to be pretty obvious, but I thought it was. I knew within like the first quarter of the book that it was a imaginary friend. Did you get that sense right away?
Oh, good for you.
I'm also always looking for it, just to let you know. I think I've talked about this multiple times, being like, I'm pretty sure this person's imaginary.
Oh, yeah.
They're never imaginary.
Yeah. It's like you've been sixth sensed, so you're just like always waiting for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it was one of my stock downs, was reading the same book at the same time as your significant other was a stock down, because we were both listening to it on our car ride back from Michigan, and separately though, different. I was listening to it on my headphones. She was listening to it on her headphones, and my daughter was watching Seinfeld. That was pretty much how our ride back went. We were watching Seinfeld actually like yesterday morning, and she's like having a bottle, and she's like, "Dada." I'm like, "What?" She points to the screen. She goes, "Kramer." And I was like, "Yep, that is Kramer."
Great analysis.
Good for you. Yeah, she's got it.
She's like, giddy up.
She knows all the characters. She legitimately watched Seinfeld for 10 minutes this morning and just stared at it and was so enthralled. And then she picks up the clicker. Somehow I'm like doing work. I don't even know how she got to it, but she's watching Always Sunny. And she got to Always Sunny, and it's the gang's racist episode when they turned the bar into a gay bar.
Yeah.
She watched it for a solid like 5 to 10 minutes of just sitting there, actually just watched it. I was like, oh, okay, well, here we go. Hopefully you have a good sense of humor. Good app. But yeah, the reading the same book at the same time as your significant other is a problem, because about 20% through, Caroline goes, "So Daphne's imaginary, right?" And I was like, "Oh, God damn it. Yeah. Yes."
Well, it was they did make it pretty obvious when the cops come to her place. Mm-hmm. She says, "Oh, like Daffy's just like right there in the corner or whatever," and then he goes down and pets the dog. When he's like, "Oh, Daphne," and he pets the dog. So I'm like, "Oh, okay, so she's not actually there." So that's when I knew. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, I guess the thing that threw me off and kept me questioning it for a lot of it was when she had Sess and Ness over to Daphne's house or something, and she was blue collar and she lived in a like kind of a rundown house or something. Didn't that happen?
When she was like, "Oh, this is Daphne that I've been talking about," and there was no one there, and they're like, "What the hell?" And her mind was like, "Oh, it's because she talks with the lower class drawl, and so people always are taken aback by that or something."
Okay.
Yeah.
I obviously wasn't sure when Caroline said that. I was like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense." But it was kind of interesting then reading it from there on out, because at that point, I was then at every scene, I was watching how Sally here, Sally Hepworth, the author, how she did it. I was kind of like seeing a magic trick happen in real time, and she did it really well. Throughout every time there was like some points where like Christos was like, "Oh, is Daphne your friend?" And she's like, "Yeah, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing," because she was supposedly right there. But so it could be misconstrued that he was addressing that person, but really he was just talking to Mabel about it. So overall, I think it was really well done. I don't think the point, and this was a big pushback on a lot of the like Goodreads reviews, was that, oh, it was so obvious that she was imaginary. I don't think Sally's out here trying to make it seem like this is a huge reveal at the end. It was like, oh, okay, this is becoming clearer and clearer throughout the book that she's not real. And then it's like, oh,
like I said, I thought it was, you were supposed to know, and the reader was supposed to know almost. That's what I thought. Because like she kind of does give it away right away. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that's fine.
Yeah. And I think either way is good, but acting like, and it's maybe because people are obsessed with freaking twists and turns like we've talked about ad nauseum, but it doesn't have to be this huge reveal twist. It's just like, oh, okay. If you didn't know at that point, it's like, that's cool. And if you did the whole time, then you got to enjoy the ride of how it was weaved in and seeing that happen in real time. So I kind of knew at the like 20% mark, I was holding on to a potential that it wasn't. And then about like halfway through, I was thinking, is Daphne the one murdering all these people?
That's what I wanted.
Yeah, which would have been pretty crazy. My first stock down is the Salem witch trials stock down. I mean, there is no way Mabel survives on the North Shore of Massachusetts in the late 1600s, right? There's just no way. There are way too many deaths and maimings
because she has
in
red
her
hair.
presence.
What's the issue?
No, it's the deaths and maimings that happen while she's there to
God,
not
yeah,
be
yeah.
considered a witch. Like
Yeah.
Kitty, her mom, Mr. Lucas, Billy Harris, Cess, her dad, Ishan, and then ultimately herself. So
Yeah.
it's like maybe after Billy, it's like, oh, she's 14 and she's already been in the presence of, this is her fourth death. And even though Mr. Lucas, she wasn't there for it, she was there right before it. So yeah, she'd probably get burned at the stake. But kind of like what we said before, the court of public opinion is just so cruel. Her mom dying and no one being there to console her or just have her ear, just to spend time with her is so messed up. And instead of getting twisted into, did she kill her mom? Did she then, because she killed her sister, I heard, it's just messed up. And yeah, I mean, it makes her the person she is, obviously, and creates Daphne. And
She actually seems pretty well adjusted after she gets out for how terrible her life was.
well, we don't really know what happens, right? She goes and helps Ness as a librarian or something along those lines. But I assume that she had a fairly lonely life until she came to the realization in her 80s that she was loved,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can't imagine the rest of her life was very good. She obviously has she's a good hang. She's clearly a good hang when we have whatever the two, Adnan and Lily, or whoever the people were that came to her, the interviewers. Like, she's got a great sense of humor and she's a good person to talk to, but no one knows that because no one gave her a chance except for Christos, which we don't really even know what happened to him. So lingering question there. Did you have any other stock downs?
You mentioned a little bit, but dark humor stock down. This book is categorized as darkly humorous crime mystery. So when I think that, I think, in the vein of Psych or the Thursday Murder Club, if you've seen that Netflix movie/book, or Only Murders in the Building. Like the kind of like, yeah, someone died, but it's it's cutesy, there's gonna be some humor around it, like lighthearted type, crime mystery.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. And dark humor to me, when people, and I think we've read a few of these books that they call them dark humor. It seems like in books, dark humor is, okay, someone being sassy with a terrible, terrible backstory and an awful childhood and all these things that are happening. It's like, yeah, it's dark. And then there's a slight bit of humor added. It's like, oh, because when I think dark humor, I think It's Always Sunny or Seinfeld. That's my interpretation of what dark humor is. Like, I think the perfect scene I always think of for Seinfeld, like what dark humor is it's Jerry and Elaine and George at the diner, and someone comes up with a child who is like adopted parents, got killed, all these things. We want to send you to France, and they're telling this whole story about like the parents and everything like that. And Elaine starts crying, and it's like, oh my god, that's so crazy. And she's using tissues to wipe her eyes, and then she hands a napkin rather, and she hands a napkin to Jerry, assuming he's crying, and Jerry just uses it to wipe his mouth off because he doesn't give a shit at all, doesn't care. That's dark humor to me.
Is that the one where George is like the Big Brother program, and George has him send the letter, ask him to send the letter from France?
Yeah. So that's what it is. Like, it's like not caring at all about other people or anything that you're like, not being a part of society is what I think dark humor is.
Or just, it's what Larry David is just that kind of person where there's not a lot of empathy.
Selfish, exactly. This is like, okay, you want to hear about literally the worst childhood of all time and how terrible it could possibly be and be super depressed, and then the woman's witty. It's like that she should be way more fucked up than just saying some negs like you mentioned to her neighbors. Like that's not really a big deal in my mind. But anyways, I think it's just mislabeled. I think is how the book was in my mind.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely, it was dark, and there was humor for sure. Like Mabel's a riot, as Elsie mostly, and the relationship with her and Persephone is almost like an odd couple type relationship. So it has fun moments, and the banter that happens pretty much in the now time. There's not a lot of funny in the before time, but in the now time, the banter is great. It's really well written dialogue. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily consider it dark humor, although I don't really like what I'm trying to think, because what I equated it to, it reminded me of a lot of Anxious People.
Yeah.
And
well, I think it's closer to the second one. The Anxious People, I think, was actually somewhat lighthearted. Yeah, the person's robbing this place, but it's there's all these funny stories along the way, and it's like not you never at any point during the robbery being like, oh my god, kids are at home and they're getting held up or something. You know what I'm saying? Where it's always is light the whole time. This one is 90% of the book is holy shit. It made you feel things, which I don't want to do. You know what I mean? So
more in the before times though than in the later ones, except for maybe at the end when Elsie sacrifices herself for Persephone, and then the whole Peter reveal. Couple more stock downs. The one we've already kind of done was like stock down to kids, especially those in the puberty stage. They pick on Christos for being like the Masuka monster or something like that. It's like kids would come up with the stupidest things to say. Like I said, trying to do like the us them thing. But it does also say something that when they start picking on Mabel at the bonfire, and she claps back by picking on them, it's like, oh, all of a sudden it's like now everyone's laughing, and maybe a bit of banter can help. And I think that might be tough for some kids, but it usually is helpful if you just kind of give them something back. But my other stock down was living in a sheltered environment stock down. So Mabel goes from kissing and not really knowing what homosexuality is, and also not understanding what she's seeing with her dad and Susan, what's her name, to all of a sudden having sex at 15.
Yeah, in like a week period.
Yeah.
And there was no, sexual intercourse or anything like that with the teacher who she'd been with forever.
Yeah, which thank God.
Which was even,
that would
obviously. But I think this goes back to the dark part, but I think initially the kid was going to be the teachers, and she was like, I'm not doing that. That's going to be fucking weird. So I'm going to do it where it's the Greek dude who, I guess, meets her 1 week and then they're having literally sex immediately. So
I think it was probably more stretched out. I felt the same way when
those
I
are my
read it,
hates.
But
yeah,
I felt like it was probably more stretched out. But at no point did they make it seem like they had like a childhood kiss kind of thing, and it was like, oh, okay, cool, good for them. But then all of a sudden it's like, I'm having a baby. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe if you teach people about intercourse and stuff like that as kids, then they'll know how to do the right thing and stay protected and all that good stuff.
If you're running a business and your ads aren't working, listen up. Covell Marketing has managed over $120 million in ad spend across Google, Meta, and TikTok ads. They've helped clients actually grow their sales and leads, not just get clicks that go nowhere. Paid search, paid social, full digital marketing consulting. You want less jargon and more results? Then go to Covell.io, that's Covel.io, and get your free audit and tell them Buddy Book Club sent you. Got a golf trip or a scramble round coming up? 4Card is the free website your group needs. Set up a match in 2 minutes, share a link with your crew, and everyone's on the same live leaderboard all round long. No more texting for scores. Real-time updates, group chat, photo sharing, it's all there. Try it on your next round at 4card.app. That's FORECARD.app.
I don't necessarily have a favorite scene, but I would say any scene that has Elsie and Persephone was an enjoyable time. It's like she puts her to bed. Next thing you know, she's sleeping next to her, like snoring. And, they come over and she makes, and she can't say, that's how kids are. You can't say no to it. It's so hard to be like, oh, I'm not going to make you banana bread. Are you crazy? And then she's like, well, I do have a couple of ripe bananas. Maybe. So yeah, I just thought every scene that had the two of them and the back and forth, you really felt the relationship. You really felt her growing on Elsie, kind of like the yapping dog to some degree, but way more obviously with Persephone, that you felt by the time that she actually sacrifices herself, like, oh, she would definitely dive in front of a moving bus to save this little girl. And she obviously sees a lot of,
or a moving bullet, which she does.
Yeah. But she obviously like sees a lot of herself in Persephone, but then she has friends, although she then adopts Daphne as her own, as Daisy. But what about you? Did you have a favorite scene for this one?
Just liked when the dad got killed. I was really hoping that there wasn't one of those books where the twist is like that the person that died was Cess and then she got blamed for it. I was like, not this. Don't fucking give me this bullshit where like, oh, it's Mad Mabel that did it and that's what she went to prison for. She never killed anyone. And then she beat him to death with the umbrella. I was like, thank God. Phew. That would have sucked if she didn't actually kill him. So that was nice. That was a nice thing.
Yeah, I'm glad that guy's not around. Total piece of shit. Yeah. Elliot. Yeah. What kind of name is Elliot? Terrible.
Elliot Ness?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I'm into the prohibition. Smuggle those booze over. I'm good with it. Although Untouchables is a phenomenal film. What about your favorite character?
I like Cess and Ness.
Really?
Even though the one thing, like the quote you had already pulled up on the 1-year-old not liking her, but they're the only real adults in the book. They were like, you shouldn't say this in front of your daughter, and you shouldn't do these things. And they're not even parents, and they're just like, yeah, this is obvious. So it was nice to see some real human adults in the book, which that weren't shitty. So that was nice.
Yeah, the only other adults we had were at her parents' sex parties, and which was weird. They all sucked. I like that Ness just hangs out and rips, or Cess just hangs out and rips heaters. Like, love that.
A couple of Marlboro Reds doesn't hurt anyone.
They're just hanging out in their slacks and button downs.
Yeah, just making martinis on a casual Tuesday afternoon.
Hanging
Why
out,
not?
martinis and ripping heaters.
Yeah,
they're great. But those are our role models, indeed. I liked, we'd already talked about it, but I like the turn by Joan. I don't think she's the best character, but I like the turn. And I just think the best character really has to be Elsie. Her 81-year-old self is someone to aspire to. Doesn't give an absolute fuck. Speaks her mind. Swears like a sailor.
I mean, that's every person. That's when we get old, we're all going to do that. So.
I hope so. I don't want to be the person that's like, oh, I got sweets. I got some candies. Come, grandchildren, come have candy and sit and watch Wheel of Fortune with me. Although that sounds pretty great too.
I will say this is my loves, but I like the relationship with Adim. Adim walks in and she's like, "You fat piece of shit," right away. And then she's like, "Oh, you're so whipped. You might as well call you whipped cream. You're fat and you're whipped." I'm like, "Holy shit!" Yeah. And that's all we know about Adim.
He asked her for coffee with sugar, which is like a small amount of sugar, normal. And she's like, "No, I'm not going to do it. You got to lay off the sugar, fatty." It's like, whoa, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked the relationship between them, her and the two YouTubers as well. For me, for loves, like I said, it reminded me a bit about Anxious People, more just in the way that these friendships are happening. The relationships that are happening between the people who you might not think necessarily would get there. But another thing I liked was, it's a story about something, the crimes and whatnot, but really it's a story about something else, and we always, or at least I always, enjoy those kind of things, and this being friendship, specifically probably female friendship, and the importance of that, and kind of how that changes who you are, and throughout later in life when she has this neighborhood of people, even though it's just her and Daphne, she actually does not realize that all these people are there to support her, and sometimes it has to be something crazy like your neighbor overdosing on vitamins to make that clear to you.
That was the only dark humorous part.
Yeah. It's like, also, is that clear, people? He's been getting vitamins and taking them nonstop. They come every day. It's probably, he's like RFK Jr.ing it over there. So, for Christ's sake. What else do you love?
I thought it was well written, interesting story. You already mentioned Elsie was a great narrator. I think they're just well told. I like the imaginary friend part. I did like that it made me feel emotions, which I didn't want to feel.
Yeah.
But, I was getting some airplane, up in the air
dust.
type feelings. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, wow, I'm not flying right now. What's going on? So didn't care for that, but I also liked it. So
yeah. Did you like the audiobook? Because we both listened to the audiobook.
yeah, I thought the audiobook's great. I do like that they did two different voices. I think that was actually really, really smart.
Yeah, I thought the audiobook was fantastic. I think both narrators were really good. And yeah, I just thought overall it was a good story that had a lot to it. Like the story itself was interesting, but also it got you feeling certain ways, and you wouldn't necessarily think that from basically like what you'd read on the inside slipcover.
Yeah.
What about hates?
I think most of my hits are going to be more like lingering questions.
Yeah,
but
sure. Well, I got a little bit of both, so we can go into that.
Okay, yeah. I didn't understand why her dad killed Sess. What led to that? Like, he wasn't violent with his mom, or her mom, rather. Like, so why did he all of a sudden just kill? Like, it just seemed like a little bit.
Well, we don't know that he wasn't violent with her, right?
I thought Elsie said that he was never violent with my mom, but he's like,
oh, like emotionally manipulated.
Yeah. Which, so it seemed like should have been some impetus of like, he hates gays or something. You know what I mean? Like, where he's like, gets so angry that he does. She just came back and she's dead. I'm like, what? Why? Like, I don't get it. And then where was Ness for that, by the way? I don't understand why Ness wasn't there.
Yeah, so from the questions that I saw around this were that supposedly Ness was potentially out looking for Mabel because Mabel like ran away and Ness went. But yeah, I mean, who knows on that part? I think for Elliot, he also just hates a woman that has a voice. Sess was showing that she wasn't going to be a pushover like every other woman. She was going to speak her mind, and she was going to be a roadblock for him. And he just thinks of women as things that they're objects. They're things that you can do whatever the hell you want with. And when he ran into Ness as the brick wall, he just snapped. But
yeah, that would have made more sense if he was like embarrassed in front of people or something. Like that's what I feel like should have been added in. She embarrassed him in public or did something where like a person like that can't take that embarrassment, especially from a woman, and it's like, all right, fuck it, I'm killing him.
Yeah, well, it was a crime of passion for sure. It wasn't just it wasn't premeditated. It was the whole thing with the house and whatnot, and then he just snapped and killed her. Speaking of which, how did Elliot not know who would inherit the house? Seems like pretty standard. Figure this out when his wife dies, who owns the house and supposedly owns the inheritance to her dad's
what you just
thing.
said. I think he was just he thought he could just bully his way into it. He's like, oh, I'm taking the house, type thing.
Yeah, so. But he has the audacity to tell Cecily, he says, what would you know about legal documents, Cecily? It's like, well, what would you know? You didn't even read, like there was a will read.
Yeah, right.
There's a legit will read that said who gets this house that you're obsessed with. And it wasn't you. So, huh? How do you not get that?
Yeah.
What about other hates?
We already mentioned the Christos thing. I don't understand what happened with him. He just, hit it and quit it type thing. Oh, he just gone? I don't know. He doesn't know he has a baby, maybe? I don't know. So I thought that was weird. So yeah, I just thought that twist with the Peter stuff, I was like, I didn't need that. I just thought it was rushed, it seemed like. It was like, what?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because that was the next thing I want to talk about was, initially I wasn't in on the Peter thing. Obviously, when she has all the photos and stuff of him, you're like, oh, she's into him.
In love with him, yeah.
And she just doesn't know how to address that. But then it's like, oh, she had a baby and it's Peter. So that's supposed to be like a big aha moment. And I was like, whatever. It seems kind of forced. Yeah, but when she, for some reason for me, because then they like stop and it goes back in time or whatever, and they come back and she's talking to the YouTuber and she tells her about the story of having Peter. And when that happened, combined with the end where like Peter then gives some money to Persephone and her mom so they can it made a little bit more sense to me, and it tied it up. I also wasn't necessarily in love with this whole like, oh, she had a baby thing. It seemed somewhat
And also
unnecessary.
Peter knew it was his mom, but he like never talked about it. I was like, what?
Oh, well, I guess now that we're talking about it, so in the middle of her life, or after she moves to this neighborhood to stay close to Peter because Peter's being raised by Ness. So they're like neighbors, right? So, and he's like, oh, when my mom died, he said to like stay close or, stay close to you or whatever the case is. So Peter knew, but she didn't know that Peter knew.
Yeah. I mean, it just was, I guess I thought it was a little bit forced.
Yeah.
So,
philosophical question. Is murder ever justifiable? Like she murders her dad. Of course. Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What would you say to that?
Oh, hell yeah. I just, some people are like, no, you can't murder is murder. But yeah, I mean, if there's a German machine gun nest shooting down at my Higgins Landing craft on Omaha Beach, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to shoot that Nazi in the head. That's for sure. Follow-up question. Was Mabel actually mad? Because she's in the library and she's solemnly swearing to be faithful to her bosom buddy. She's hugging herself. She's crying. She's farting and snorting and laughing. And this is all happening
Well, is
to
she
herself.
doing the actions of the other person, or is, you know what I mean? Like, is it actually just her doing those things, or is it?
Even if it's
yeah.
not, and she's just, she has to be hugging because she's doing an action. So she's hugging herself. She was crying. And then she definitely
is she doing the voice of the other girl?
She snorted and she was laughing. So I was getting a lot of Smeagol Gollum vibes in the library.
If she was doing the low class accent for her, also that would be great. That would be Then she's definitely crazy.
But she's in a library, like getting shushed, and she's just talking to herself. So I think to her, she's like, oh, everyone calls me Mad Mabel because I'm associated with all these murders. It's like people are calling you mad because you're walking around talking to yourself, like holding hands with an imaginary person. So, if you saw someone around town just always talking to themselves, you'd think they were a little mad.
Yeah. I think it's fair.
So how did Kitty get out on the patio? Because they, we joked about it at the top, but they said the door was locked and someone's like, oh, her, people
the dad unlocked it.
The dad unlocked it?
Yeah, that was I thought made clear because she couldn't reach the lock. The dad could, and she asked the dad at one point when they're in the hospital, like, so who unlocked it, huh? And he was like, fuck you. And then, so obviously it was him.
But why would he do that?
Because he probably just forgot, or maybe he wanted to...
So he's an asshole, he just forgot and he blamed Mabel for it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Were the parties that they were having at their house, were those like eyes wide shut sex parties, or were they just like raucous drinking parties? And what's the difference?
I think they were. I mean, were there drugs out? I don't remember.
No,
but I think it was like I was imagining like flapper, 20s. There, everyone's drinking champagne.
Yeah, this is like
being
post
a little
World War
bit
II,
promiscuous. Though. Wasn't that like the biggest time for babies?
Yeah,
right after that. So
sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think they were just getting after it, and obviously there was some promiscuous behavior occurring. During it.
Did you have anyone that you could cast for the film? I don't know how they do the imaginary friend thing. I was talking about Harvey, which is like an old movie where his best friend's like a rabbit. But I don't know how you would do a movie like this with Daphne. It'd be hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did Fight Club, so.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just thinking Helen Mirren.
That's who I had, Helen Mirren.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, am I saying her name wrong? Yeah. Yeah, Helen Mirren. Yeah.
Yeah. Little too hot for Mabel, but you know what? We'll allow
it. Did she have red hair growing up? I'm going to look.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yep. I think she had blonde hair.
Yeah, she was a fox. Still is. So that's funny. We'll let Helen Mirren. There you go.
She kind of had strawberry red hair for the picture I'm looking
at. Okay,
at.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to matter for older one. I don't know who would play a 15-year-old version of her, but that's not... Actually, you know who they could? They could get the girl from Stranger Things.
Oh, the red hair?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's just got cast as X-Men, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. She's probably a little older now, but she could play it down. What do you give it out of 5 stars, and who's it for?
I think I give it a 3.75
Okay.
out of 5. I thought it was very good. I like think my almost biggest issue with it was that I didn't want this type of book. So I think I just, like I said, I think it was mislabeled, but it was a good read. I do think there was some lingering questions at the end that I was like, but I feel like most, I guess, twisty turny books that we've had kind of always have some sort of like, all right, I don't know why they did that, but nonetheless, great writing. Made me feel for the first time in a long time. And yeah, what about you?
I give it a 4.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just thought this book is like 9 hours long or like 10 hours long. Yeah. It felt as quick as it was, but it also was like just a good book. It's probably 300 pages or something like that. I have no idea. But all the characters were built up, fleshed out, had their own stories. I think there's obviously going to be a couple misses like the ones we talked about, but overall, I just thought it was a really enjoyable. Maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's like a 4.25. But
4.5 is like, for me at least, it would be, I'm doing things just so I can listen to the book.
Yeah, but I think that's tough because this is not necessarily like our wheelhouse. Like if we get a good fantasy book or like a good sci-fi book, I'm like, okay, I'm all in. Like even we read that like Expeditionary Force book about the Marine guy who like befriended an alien. Like it was kind of like Project Hail Mary, but it was like a machine or something. I thought that was super. Like I was enjoying it, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to read it. But it wasn't like that phenomenal of a book. So I think because
you're judging on a weighted scale. I'd agree with you. This is top tier of this genre. But for me, like the highest that this genre can go is like a 4.25 maybe. You know what I mean?
Got
so
it.
like, but if you're weighting it, then I'd agree. It would be probably like 4.25, 4.5 range.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll dip down to like 4.25 just to cut the difference.
I mean, would it enter your top 10? I guess is the question.
No, definitely
like, would
not.
it kick out Daisy Jones 6, Green Light, Songs of Achilles?
No, definitely.
Okay, so that's I guess that's
No,
so.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Hey, I don't want to. Keep the 4.5.
No, but I just think this is one of those books where people sometimes, I would say always, I wish people sat there and were like, hey, what should I read? But that's like I was on the golf course today and some guy's like, hey, can I ask your advice? I was like, me? Me? Please. I was like, I shot a 108 the other day. Yes, of course. I thought he was going to be like, tell me what to do so I could do the opposite. But if someone asked me, like my mom or someone like that will always be like, hey, what are you reading? Like, what's a good book? This is something that I would just easily can throw out. Mad Mabel. Fair. It fits everybody. Everyone can read it, and I feel like everyone can enjoy it. So I'll go with a 4.25. All right, what do we got coming up next?
Along Came a Spider by James Patterson, I believe, right?
It's his first book. It's the end of beach season.
We're grasping onto beach season. We're keeping it alive here.
Yeah, well, I guess in Southern California, it's always beach season.
Yeah.
But we still got like another good month of beach season here. And it's 9 hours. It's a quick book. And then there's a Denzel movie that has terrible Rotten Tomato score that you can watch afterwards.
Show for it too.
Yeah, I think they'd made it into an Amazon show or something like that. Yeah. So we'll do Along Came a Spider, and then in early September we got a couple interviews coming up. So I don't know if any of those books have come out yet. So I didn't sign an NDA, so I can probably say whatever the heck I want. But either way, you won't be able to read them, I don't think. But you can read Along Came Spider. So check that out, and then we'll catch you for that in like a week or two.
Indeed.
All right. Well, that was Mad Mabel and Keith. I'll talk to you next week. All right. Bye now.
Bye now.